Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Everybody knows the iconic Marion Barry. 3 or 4-time mayor of D.C., was it? Multiple times. And it was horrible. D.C. turned into yet another city that becomes a cesspool. They chased all of the entrepreneurs and the people that spur, ingenuity and what have you, and they chased them out to Virginia and to Baltimore, etc., and left D.C. just to be quite frankly, a escape from New York scenario. And Marion Barry, as you guys know, was a crackhead, and he's a clinic in what happens when you let leftists run a city, and particularly black leftists. Now, people will get mad at me and say, Kevin, there you go, making it racial. No, it's Democrats run cities into the ground, and black Democrats run them into the ground faster. That's just the truth. Marion Barry, it was horrible what this guy did to D.C. He used nepotism and cronyism to put all these people around him, and then it became yet another corrupt system. It should be the representative city of America, and it became a corrupt cesspool, and it remains that. It doesn't matter what deal is being brokered or whatever. It's all political. It's all money changing hands, graft and greed, and just you name it. That whatever could be negative about a deal, you can find it in D.C. on steroids. And under Marion Barry, it was horrible. I remember when I was writing papers about this guy, or articles, and trying to figure out just you couldn't even tell where the corruption ended. Everybody in his administration had their hand out. It was like dealing with an African nation. And I know how that works because I've dealt with them. You know the beauty of dealing with the corrupt nations of the world, particularly those in Africa? You know exactly what the payoff is based on the level. You got a $1 to $5 payoff. You got a $5 to $20 payoff. You got a $21 to $100 payoff, and so on. And you knew what level you were working with based on what the guy was looking for. Well, Kevin, that will cost you. How much will that cost me, buddy? That's going to cost you about $60. Okay. So you knew what level of bureaucrat. If it was going to cost you a few thousand, you were at the contract stage. And so everybody knew it. Everybody in government goes, if you want to, I can do your paperwork, but if you want it to happen and you want it to happen right away, it's $20. Boom, here you go. Oh, you need to get a second signature. He's $100. Got it. Boom, there you go. You pay up enough the food chain and you get the deals. And it's a sorry system because the rich get richer and the poor get poorer because it's whoever can pay for the deals. And Marion Barry ran D.C. very much the same. He had city council people, you had assistants to this, deputy this, blah, 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 and they're all getting their little cut of the pie while the people suffer. Worst schools, some of the worst schools in the country, worst hospitals, you name it. And Marion Barry would go back to the Fed and he'd say, hey, we need more money. And then Congress has to vote them more because they don't run like a regular city. They're not taxed like a regular city. So they'd go to Congress and get more money. Now, I don't know how things worked in D.C. with respect to like retail taxes and all that, but they were mostly funded by taxpayer dollars. And Barry would constantly go back and get more money. But they weren't getting more money to improve things for for D.C., to make the place safer. And it became a very dangerous place to live. Still is for the most part. But the reason why I'm talking about this and talking about D.C. rather, and Marion Barry in particular, is because they want to honor the man. So here's the clip. Tucker Carlson was talking to the guy who wanted to honor him. And when you hear this clip, we're going to dissect it. But if you hear what I hear, you'll be angry.
Across America, during our own Cultural Revolution, all kinds of statues are being torn down for all kinds of offenses, whether it's racism or imperialism or existing more than 200 years in the past. But here in Washington, D.C., the City Council wants to build a brand new statue honoring deceased Mayor Marion Barry. Barry, of course, had a long history of racially charged remarks. He was a convicted drug offender, too. Does he deserve the high honor? Jack Evans is a longtime D.C. City Councilman. Everyone in town knows Jack Evans. He supports the Barry statue. He joins us tonight. Jack, thanks for coming up.
Oh, Tucker, thanks for having me.
So no one would deny the charm of Marion Barry. I know you served with him on the city council for a long time, but roguish doesn't really begin to capture Barry. He was like truly a terrible mayor and openly a race baiter and kind of without real achievement. Why would you make him the subject of a statue?
Well, I have to say, he was an iconic figure here in local Washington.
He was, for sure.
Without a doubt. And so it was one of my ideas to have a statue to him because of what he was able to do for the African-American population in our city and for the city itself. Now, remember, you wind the clock back when he came into office in 78. The city was new. First elected mayor was in 75. And he was able to, in his first term at least, really create a Washington that we have built on since that time.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So Tucker sets the stage for Marion Barry. He introduces the not congressman, but the, I guess he's somebody intrinsic to D.C. politics, Jack Evans, and he says, Jack, you've served with Mayor Barry. What are your thoughts? Because Tucker says he's a rogue. He's a race baiter without real achievement. And Jack Evans didn't argue. And Tucker says to him, so why is it you want to have the statue built for him? And he says, well, yeah, I'm the one who wanted this. Now, Jack Evans is a white guy. Seems like a nice guy. He says, we need to honor the man. Now, again, Tucker says the guy's a rogue, a race baiter without real achievement. All very true. Jack Evans doesn't deny it, but says, well, Mayor Barry was an iconic figure. So was Robert E. Lee. So was Bull Connor. I mean, there are lots of icons. Is he saying that everybody loved him or what? That's just not true. He says, I want a statue of him because of what he did for blacks in D.C. and the city itself. At least he gave himself some wiggle room by saying in the city itself, because why would you honor somebody for what they did for blacks? What you want to honor somebody for is what they do for humanity. I'll use Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., for example, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. did something for humanity. He didn't do it for blacks. He called upon the vicious nature of white Democrats and said to, or I should say the vicious white Democrats, and called upon them to look at their nature and say, look, this is wrong. That's what he did. He didn't do that for blacks. He did that for humanity. That's not something that's just, okay, well, now that we've got white people that don't hate blacks, it's okay for black people to hate whites, because Reverend Martin Luther King, I should say, would be just as appalled at black people today doing exactly what whites used to do to us, to them. He'd be appalled. He'd be angry. He'd be hurt. So people that, that was for black people. So Marion Barry, if he was going to improve D.C., he shouldn't have been improving D.C. for blacks. He should have been improving D.C. for humanity. What is it to do? We're going to improve it for blacks. So somebody nailed that down. Well, we're going to put a hip hop club at every corner? We're going to allow drugs to be dealt openly? What? What are you going to improve for blacks? And I'm not trying to belittle the black community. I happen to be part of it. But what I will tell you is don't do me any favors. How about you help our city? How about you help our country? How about you help humanity? And then I'll let the chips fall where they may. I'm going to help blacks. What is it? What problem do we suffer that this guy believes Barry needs to single us out? That's unbelievable to me. And he says, well, he was elected in 78, but, our first elected mayor was in 75. Okay, well, what does all the dates have to do with this? He says they then built on to Washington, the continuing legacy of Marion Barry. So if Washington turns out to be good, it all started out because a crackhead mayor got caught in an FBI sting, and the city improved. If the city improves right now, it will have nothing to do with Marion Barry. You know what it'll have to do with? You guys know the answer. It'll have to do with Donald Trump. It'll have to do with the way he changes the nature of how these people think. Go to D.C., you'll see what I'm talking about. The biggest snobs in the country live there. You think you've met a snob on the West Coast, Beverly Hills, or somewhere in California? Forget about it. Biggest snobs in the world. Right there on the Potomac, D.C.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.